The dream of everyone to have that perfect partner. But unfortunately, through courting into marriage, most people end up with the wrong partners. And about 4,000 people ended their marriage last year in Ghana. And that's alarming. So today on the podcast, we want to discuss the conscious partner. Who is the conscious partner? After the break, I'll introduce my guest. Welcome back. This is Two Madness Podcast, and my guest today is Andrew Agyapong. He's my good friend. He has been on this podcast so many times, and he has in-depth knowledge on this particular topic, the conscious partner. Welcome.
Thank you very much, boss.
Welcome.
Yes.
So, I want to marry very soon.
It's great.
And I have a lot of friends who want to marry, but most of them are scared entering marriage because these days the divorce rates are way higher than then. And today I want us to focus on how to be a conscious partner in marriage or even when you're having courtship. So let's start. When we say a conscious partner, who is a conscious partner?
Okay, so basically when we say consciousness, you're talking about being aware of your surrounding, being aware of the people around you. So you're looking at also being aware of the needs of the people around you. That is what we see. Somebody is a conscious person, not just a careless person, but when you become aware of people's needs, not just you, but the environment that you are in, and then how you can contribute to those particular needs, then we can say you are a conscious person, you are a concerned person, and then you're looking for the betterment of people or the situations around your life. So basically, that is what it means.
There are situations in some relationship that you find one person being almost right every time. The person is not always at fault. The person is always on point. The person is well in depth with knowledge. And it becomes scarier to the other partner that, this person is always getting things right. I'm always getting things wrong. And conflicts are inevitable in relationships. So when you find yourself in this kind of relationship, how do you go about things?
Okay, so we are not talking about people who want to boast with their knowledge or want to shove down something on your throat as for you are ignorant. We are not talking about people like that.
No.
We are talking about those who know what they're about. I think basically, generally in this life, there will always be somebody who knows something that you don't know. There will always be people who have information that you don't have. And the possibility that you may meet people that have an understanding about almost everything in ways that you don't is very high. For instance, when we go to school, we have teachers. Our teachers know more than we do. So about 99% of the time, we are listening to the teacher because he's almost always right. He's teaching a subject you have no knowledge about. He has understanding about it. He knows how to go about it. So if you're in a class with a teacher like that, will you feel bad? No. You rather find a reason to learn, improve on yourself, add value. So if you're in a relationship and then you find out that your partner knows more about what love is about, has understanding about relationship, about patience, have understanding about vision, about purpose, and the training of the person has brought the person some knowledge. The experiences that the person has been through that you haven't has made the person earn something that you don't have. Instead of looking at it as a competition or something to spite you should rather see it as an opportunity to grow. Actually, that is what relationships are supposed to be about. We are supposed to become better. I should meet you and become better than I was before. You understand? I mean, before I got married, excuse me, I dated some people before I got married. But I learned some things from them that are helping in my marriage now. I'm not with them now, but those things that I learned have contributed to who I've become today. So yes, the possibility of you being in a relationship where somebody knows more is almost always right. You should see it as an avenue to unlearn some of the things and then balance it. But don't see it like inadequacy. You don't qualify, and you sometimes they begin to misinterpret you trying to. And yes, other times too, because we feel we know, not we feel, because we know, some people get intimidated by that. If you are the one almost always right, sometimes you should also relax and take your time, especially in how you address some things. There are some things that you should ignore because the people themselves will come to that point where they will have to learn by the experience. So number one, don't feel, like the other person is spiting you or trying to make you feel inferior because the other party is almost always right. Because in this life, there will always be people who know more, whether the man or the woman.
Okay, let me buttress this question with another question. So in our African setting, we are relearning, we are unlearning and relearning. Yeah. And most men feel that because they are the head of the family, they're supposed to know. So for instance, let's create this scenario. A man in a relationship and the woman is always right. And you feel like you are losing grip of the power in the relationship as a man. How do you help such men?
Well, number one, to be a man, or to be not just a man, but to be one who wants to enter into marriage, you should, that is why you're called a head. You should be a head in many other areas, not in the negative sense. If you want to, board a plane, the person is called a pilot because he knows more than you. There may be other people who may have knowledge about the plane, but that is why you are the pilot. So on many levels, you should have some knowledge, some understanding of something generally. But at the point when, your wife has some knowledge and some experiences about something that you do not have, you should see it as a compliment. Sometimes ego will prevent us from accepting that what this person is saying is actually the truth, But eventually, when you pay attention, you are somebody who processes information. There are some men that will not tell you right there and then that, hey, Charlie, what can you answer? But you realize that they will still do what you have said. They've still obeyed what you said anyway. So it goes like that. We should, in this modern age, we are raising daughters, equipping them with knowledge. Our parent generation have also raised their daughters and equipped them with knowledge. All that knowledge is supposed to help us. You understand? So you can't do it all alone. Me, I don't know everything, and I don't know anything. I don't know everything, and there'll be some things that I may not have understanding about. If my wife is telling me, sometimes it's like, also for brother, I didn't know. But what she's saying is exactly true.
Yeah.
I may not immediately admit to it, but you realize that I may take what she has said and be still working. So please, let's not walk in that kind of African man mindset where you are above information, feeding of information. You will end up in ditches many of the time. You are calling the person your helpmate, and the person is helping you. Why are you throwing the help?
Yeah, true. This is the Money Podcast, and kindly subscribe to our channel. We'll be right back after this. Come back. This is the Money Podcast. So, Andrew, being blunt in relationship, being truthful, is it always necessary to be blunt and truthful?
Every relationship thrives on truth. But the bluntness and what we are calling bluntness is what we have to look at. For some people, bluntness means being rude. It means that being raw, being disrespectful. Normally people will write that, okay, with all due respect. But every other thing after the with all due respect has nothing to do with respect at all. It were better they didn't mention that phrase with all due respect. So we are expected to be truthful. We are expected to be transparent. And also the Bible said that we should speak the truth in love. We should consider the situation, the timing with which we have to say something. In the act that you want to address the issue, emotions are high. If you are saying truth amidst such high emotions, even if you are making sense, we will spend all the time addressing how the things were said. We will spend all the time measuring the frequencies of the voice you used, instead of what exactly we talked about. So in many relationships, we end up talking about how the thing was done instead of what has been done. So the problem never gets solved. We go through the same things over and over and over, and things keep getting worse. So yes, we are supposed to be true. I think I have an example of one of my daughters that I call my daughter in the Lord anyway. And she was suspended from her workplace. And she called me. And when we were addressing the issue, I asked her what she had done. He said, a patient was, saying something, and she reacted. She was being professional. And at that point in time, what she meant by professional was being rude. And I told her that, look, being professional doesn't mean you should be rude. The person may have done something that you could have addressed, but how you want to go about it is very important. So I believe that we should be honest, but in our bluntness, we shouldn't be rude. We shouldn't be disrespectful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Thank you. So we'll be right after this commercial break. This is Two Madmen's Podcast. Welcome back. This is Two Madmen's Podcast. we are still discussing the conscious partner. Andrew, so conflict, are they red flags and unhealthy in relationship?
Yes, they are always red flags, but let's define red flags properly. For instance, I was having a discussion with somebody today, and the person said that she's considering somebody that she wants to get married to, but there are two people actually. One is older than her, and the other one is her age mate. But because the person is her age mate, she's not considering the person at all. So she's calling that a red flag, kind of thing. But it's not exactly so. When it comes to marriage and relationships, I've realized that elderly people or people who are more mature have made some of the most critical or most, let me say, bad, have encountered the worst of experiences or made the worst of mistakes, if I should say yes. So it's about understanding. It's like driving a car. As long as you are 18 and above, you can drive, right? Some elderly people drive bad. Others who are younger drive better. So what you should call a red flag is something that, number one, is directly in contravention with the purpose of God for your life and what God has called you for and what you want to pursue and achieve. If that is not in place, I mean, you shouldn't consider at all. All other things may be a result of, common human mistakes and errors that you can work within. But if the gap of understanding of purpose is so wide, that is a red flag enough.
Okay. So now into marriage, two people are married and they're always busy trying to build a family, trying to make money and all that. How do we make time? Like, are we supposed to still be going through that courtship time that we'll be sending messages, we'll be trying to be happy and all that, be going to places and all that? Now we are married. And we don't have time like we used to when I was wooing you. So how do we make sense of this whole situation of marriage, trying to be a family and trying to also chip in a fun part that we used to have?
I think as intentional as it was when the relationship started, that same thing should also continue.
Okay.
But when you get married, sometimes you really get carried away. Sometimes I get busy. In fact, maybe the whole week I hardly stay home. Then my wife brings my attention. Hey, this week, dear, when I begin to, get those kind of vibes, that I know that maybe I may have to slow down or I may have to compensate with other things. You understand what I'm trying to say? So it means that I will have to, so the list she's called, okay, I need this. Should I buy you this? All these ones becomes like compensations. And it's intentional, as every relationship must be worked out, even in marriage. If you don't leave things to chance doesn't do anything. So even if you are dating, you intentionally go out, you intentionally buy ice cream, you intentionally go for movie night, you intentionally take walks. The same thing continues. So if you allow work to consume both of you, if you don't take time, the people that you think you are working for, they may not be interested in what you are doing for them because that is not what they need all the time. It doesn't mean that the money is not important. It's important, but if the people you are gathering the money for are not having you, it's you they want first, not exactly the money. So that balance should be there. And pay attention when your other spouse tells you that you are not making time for me, or I don't feel like I used to do before. Don't just say it's work. Now everybody's busy. We have to work. If I don't work, we'll put food on the table. If you based on those things as excuses, if you don't take time, you may lose the people that you are working hard for, even with the children as well.
True.
Yeah.
True. Is there a special way to know your partner?
I wouldn't say so exactly, because even we as individuals, sometimes we think we know ourselves until some situations come up. Every day is a learning process. Every single day. Like I said, you have to pay attention to some things. For instance, you know that a person behaves in a particular way. If at one point in time the person just goes off, maybe the person is not the one who, shouts or always runs. But for instance, something comes up and the first reaction is a rant, is a shout. Instead of just getting worked up about why the person shouted, instead of just saying it calmly, it should rather make you ask questions that, it is not how this person is. So what exactly is going on? Is it me or is it her? So I don't think that there is a very special way to know somebody. As the days go by, we all exhibit something. We pick up things from the things we read, the things we watch, social media. Somebody's story can get you confused about your own stance in life. So as and when things come, just pay attention and try to address issues there and then. After that, you move.
This is Too Money's podcast. Kindly subscribe to this channel. Please subscribe. So, how powerful is empathy in relationship?
As powerful as the many relationships that died because of no impact. We don't stop growing, and we should understand what the other person can also bring on board. Sometimes we expect from our spouses what they can never give or what they do not have. For instance, let's say you were expecting them to read. Maybe the person doesn't like reading. You should find another approach or find another means. Maybe you want the person to go out with you or something, but it doesn't work that way. You should find other ways. We shouldn't put ourselves in boxes. As the tides flow, as the rivers flow, we should allow our canoe to maneuver in the same stream. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Yes, exactly. So I believe that what life presents at every point in time, we should just look at things objectively and then just flow in that line.
In some relationships, the guy or the lady in there becomes like a parent to the partner, and there's always seriousness. Nobody loves them. It's always serious. So in that relationship, how do you practically prioritize fun? There are some relationships that there's no fun in there.
I think people equate seriousness to unhappiness or no fun times. That is what I think. For instance, I had let me say a daughter of mine in the Lord, and then she was working somewhere, and then they suspended her because she spoke to a patient rudely. And when I was asking her about it, she said, "Oh, Papa, I was just being professional. I was just doing my job." I was like, "Hey, being professional doesn't mean be rude." It's a general notion that many Africans have, especially, let me talk about my country, Ghana, with the way customer service is very bad. People think that being professional means being rude, having a serious face, not smiling. You can be serious and still have fun. You can be serious and still smile. So in a relationship where parents are not all the time serious faced, most of the lessons we pick from our parents, we pick them when they were calmer and they were talking to us. Not out of tension, not out of anger. Those were the things that we have. Those ones that they did when they were beating and shouting, you may hardly remember any of them because at that time, your mind is processing the pain you are going through. So you don't really pay attention to what they were saying. You understand what I'm trying to say? So, being in a serious relationship or being serious with somebody doesn't mean straight face. It doesn't mean that you can't have fun from time to time. No, that is a very wrong notion. If you see couples laughing and jumping and playing in their homes, it doesn't mean that they are not a serious couple. It doesn't mean so.
Yeah. How can one help the partner to feel safe in a relationship?
Honesty. Everybody gains confidence in honesty. Boldness grows in transparency. Trust grows in transparency. Even if you do something wrong and you become honest, the person may be hurt that you did that thing, but the virtue of honesty has a way of getting people to even show empathy or sympathy or mercy towards you just because you're honest. For instance, even in our school time, those times, boys have done something wrong and the teacher is trying to pry who did this. The student will become honest, will be punished, but eventually you realize that the teacher or whoever will have a soft spot for that particular person. Even in prison, people who have committed crimes, when they become honest, the judges sometimes can reduce the sentence even though you will still serve that prison term. So I think honesty and truthfulness is the pillar of every relationship. So we should strive to be transparent, honest. The rest will just follow. Confidence and trust will grow.
I've learned a lot today on this particular subject. I want to marry very soon. And I have a lot of guys who want to also marry soon. So they shouldn't fear marrying. Before you go, your closing remarks.
I think that, I know that relationship marriages are a great thing. It's great because number one, it's God that created them. Whatever that God creates is good. So if there's something wrong, then it means that we are the ones not doing something right, you know. And my advice to people who have to go through breakup or divorce in one way or the other, everybody is wired for something different. It's not everybody who goes through a breakup or a divorce means that, there is something that really went that bad that couldn't have been fixed. Sometimes we look at them some way, but for some of them, really, probably it was the only way out to bring them back to their purpose and what God wanted to do with their life. So we shouldn't look down on such people. And those who are with partners who are not conscious about their needs and are always giving excuses, using work as an excuse, money as an excuse, other things as excuses, not paying attention to you, I think it's a red flag in itself, because I've realized that we all make time for things that matter to us. No matter how far you go away from something, if it matters to you, you find a way to make time for it. So don't be stuck in a relationship, with somebody who is not conscious about your need, who is not concerned about your well-being. And if you have to leave, don't feel too bad, as if to say that I shouldn't be the one initiating the breakup. As for me, you want to wait for the other person. No. The relationship and marriages were created for peace, for joy, for satisfaction. If you are not finding any of these, please step out.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on this podcast. I appreciate you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
This is Two Man Beings podcast. I had my camera lady over there. I had Mrs. Agyapong over there. Bye.
Bye.